It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Extra Innings. Declan Goff here, live from Target Field. AJ Fredrickson, live in his home front. Hit the like button and subscribe button for Minnesota Twins content on this YouTube channel. We are almost at 3,000 subs, so thank you very much for everyone that has made that happen. So if you haven't already, if you're discovering this for maybe the first time, if you have been watching these videos and you're like, I keep watching these videos, what else can I do to keep supporting these guys because I love this content so much? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us kind of spread the word and get things out there a little bit more about this podcast. So appreciate you guys, everyone that's listened and liked this episode, these videos. We appreciate it. Extra Innings content comes for you from the majority of home games, some select road games too. I go inside the clubhouse, get a little beat podcasting role to a degree. And today, Age, I went around and I wanted to figure out, because the season, by the way, a third done. I think in baseball seasons, right, we always like to look at like checkpoints. June 1st is kind of like that first one, and it's May 29th technically, but like June 1st always seems the first checkpoint. All-Star break kind of seems like the second checkpoint. They've now pushed the trade deadline back so much further after the All-Star break. That feels like kind of, you know, you're rounding third. Now you basically know if you have a good team or not, and those fringe playoff teams are kind of fighting for it. So I feel like we're in, you know, the first third of this season being done. I kind of wanted to ask a few players what has been their favorite part about this season. What has been the thing that they have been impressed with the most? I went around, I talked about 5 different players. I talked to Rocco Baldelli, I asked him the same question. It's kind of funny because each time that I went up and asked these questions, everyone kept giving me the same answer. And so when I went up to Rocco and I was like, spoiler alert, I'm going to ask you this question, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to know the answer. And he thought that was absolutely hilarious. And Rocco pretty much gave the exact same answer. So I went around and I talked to a bunch of players on, you know, what's been working so far this season. And I got a lot of the same answers, but I think it was pretty unique. So one player told me the win streak. Obviously, the 12-game winning streak was a big one, winning 12 games, especially after starting, you know, I think 6-13. That was awesome. But I will say the collective answer I got, and I'll get into another one from Joe Ryan that he gave me. The collective answer I got from the group was everyone kind of coming together and staying together even during the lulls. You know, like there's new players in this clubhouse that obviously weren't here before, and they said how much different it feels and how much this organization runs things differently even when you're losing or things aren't going well. It can be a little bit of a pouty fest, and it can be a little bit of woe is me. Age, you and I know that with plenty of different Minnesota Wild teams that we have watched and covered over the years. And I was inside a lot of those locker rooms. I can experience some of that from afar. I don't really sense that from this team. And even though it's cliche talk to a degree, like I wasn't filming these guys, these were to a degree off the record type of conversations a little bit. I found it interesting that a lot of them said the same thing of even when this team was struggling, they all kind of trusted their process and they trusted that eventually things are going to get righted a little bit. And even though it's been a swoony and streaky season on both ends of that, I think it's important that those guys like never get too down on themselves. And so far, the Twins have been able to weather so many of those inconsistencies. They're on another basically little bit of a high here after winning, I think, 5 of their last 6 of their last 7. And now it feels like, you know, this team is trending in the right direction where it should have been, obviously, before the season even started.
Yeah, and I mean, the baseball season is, as much as a lot of people want to say, like, get out in front and lead your division, wire to wire, be the best team that you can be, like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so the biggest key is to make sure that you, hit your stride at some point, and it seems like this is like the area now after that first third where it's like, all right, let's start finding out. You stuck your toe in the water. You know who you are as a team. You've kind of battled adversity here through the first third, but now let's settle into that groove. Find your game and dictate. Yeah, don't play up or down. Just play your game here moving forward, and then you know the baseball gods are going to let things take its course. The big thing though is you have to get out of the gate, because how many times have we seen a team just, you know, the bell goes off, everybody, oh man, they're in, you know, around the first turn, and all of a sudden you look back and it's like, the White Sox, did they even wake up today? Like, you know, you see that some of these times, and it seemed like the Twins could have fell victim to not even getting out of the gate, but that big winning surge, you go on and you win The double digits. You go ahead and you kind of steal some here. Obviously, they've had ups and downs recently in terms of like the losses to the Yankees. But you go back out, and these last two series, they steal a couple games, they win a couple series, and all of a sudden, they're above 500 at this 1/3 mark. To your point about everybody kind of being on the same page, giving you the same answer, that's good, because we're not quite maybe at that immediate third portion of the season. Maybe we're a bit early, like you said, but
yeah,
they're not getting that PR coaching of like, all right, guys, here's what we're gonna say. We're expecting these questions. You might have came in under the radar, and you're getting these answers. But the fact that they're all kind of on the same page goes to your point of they stuck together during the lulls. Nobody really felt they had to go rogue and try to overperform or like bring the team out of the slump themselves. No, and maybe that was on me, because I think I was. How many times have I asked you who's going to step up and really? It seems like they wanted to make it a team effort, and they've since made it a team effort here, where everybody is battening down the hatches. If you're on a ship or whatever, and there's water leak, and you're going to have one guy with a bucket, you're going to get as many hands in there as possible, dinging that water over the side so that you can stay afloat. And this team has stayed afloat so far. They're 6.5 games back at this point of the season. It doesn't help that Cleveland's won 9 of their last 10, but I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think that Cleveland team is going to be able to keep winning, 9 out of 10.
Right.
They're just not built to have that type of success. The Twins, if they find their stride, they find their stream, they're going to catch them. They're going to overtake, and that AL Central top spot is probably theirs.
Well, and at the very least, Age, when you play a team that's ahead of you in the standings like Kansas City, you're at the very least chipping away at that. Like, the Twins are 3 games back now of second place. At one point, I believe it was 6 games back just last week. So, I mean, at least they're closing the first gap. Obviously, yes, the main goal is to be on top of the division, so you don't have to play a road playoff game. But, I mean, they're in the wild card mix. They've been able to stay in there. And, yeah, I think the Tom Kelly quote, right, everyone grab an oar. We're all in this together, to your same metaphor that you were just kind of saying right there. I think it's important for teams to understand that, and it can be cliche, it can be some player coach speak, but I think it's important for teams to also to go through adversity. I do buy into that. The 2019 the Bomba Squad was a fun ass team, and that's a super awesome prolific team that set a home run record, but they won 100 games. They were pretty much on cruise control the whole season. They didn't face much adversity until October came, and they got slapped in the face for 3 games by the Yankees, and all that 100 wins, all the Bomba Squad, all that fun for 6 months was wiped away in the literal span of 4 or 5 days. So I think the fact that this team, who last year kind of back-ended their way to a easy division title and finally getting the monkey off their back in the playoff wins, and even though they struggled a little bit out the gate, I think what they've been able to kind of overcome, and with all the players kind of echoing things, and I appreciate it too, because I asked players that haven't been here before, kind of about that. Because, if you're an outsider and you're coming into a new organization, or if you're a younger player that, is getting their first taste of the big leagues, and they've never really they weren't in the clubhouse basically last year for that, what does it feel like? And for all of them, I think, to kind of have the same collective answer, which again, I didn't really get the sense that was coach speak or player speak or cliches. I thought that stuff was super important. Joe Ryan gave me a good little tidbit. He said, it feels like we're really good at rallying this year. He said, I don't have the numbers in front, but it just feels like, and look, majority of the time when you're down in the 7th and when you're down in late games in baseball, you're going to lose them. That's just kind of the nature of 162 games. But I went back and I looked at least high leverage situations. As much as we have crapped on this Twins offense, and rightfully so for its inconsistencies at times, their best OPS is actually in innings 7 through 9 this year. Now, some of that is garbage time, right? Sometimes you get some runs in the 9th inning when that happened in the Yankees series, it happened in the Dodgers series. But their best OPS innings-wise is in the 7th and 9th. The Twins' offense in terms of the high, medium, and low leverage situations, their best OPS, again, is in the high leverage situation, which I even had to double check of, wow, that is correct. He wasn't wrong there, just from an observer, as someone who's obviously pitching every 5th day and in with the team in the clubhouse or watching games just like I am. Never really put all that together. And also the last thing here, 1-run game. So last year the Twins, as much as that was a division and fun winning team, they went 19-27 in 1-run games. This year 9-4. So those one-run game margins, which are never year-to-year consistent, like there's no projecting, how to be successful in one-run games, if I can continue to say that correctly. But this year's squad has at least done a really good job at closing out those 9-4 games, and there's been some walking at the planks. We've already seen that in the last week to a degree, but finishing out those close games, not letting those slip away, that's a big trait in my opinion that can separate you, come October and come playoff time.
Yeah, and to me, those one-run games, I mean, it's all about, like, winning a coin flip, in a sense. Like, those games can be so unpredictable because you have to approach them differently, and so going from, 19-27 last year to now 9-4 this year, if you're going to win a coin flip that many times, just keep the trend rolling. When it comes down to his recollection of rallying, it sort of reminds me of, like, if you're in the market for a car.
Okay,
and you're like, okay, I'm going to look around here. For me, a few years ago, I'm looking and it's like, okay, a Honda for sure, a Toyota,
right.
sure.
Yep.
I settled on a Subaru. And I was like, you know what? I don't really notice many people driving Subarus. Whatever. As soon as I was in the market, I was like, they piqued my interest. The drive home, Subaru, boom, boom, boom. There's a Forester, there's a Crosstrek, boom. Now that I've been driving one for a couple of years, I'm like, I see them every single day. So it's like, was I just ignoring them, or is it now conscious? To Joe Ryan's point, you're probably going to notice when, like, if you're looking for it, those rallies late. But think about how many times you and I have even talked where it's like, I love that they had the offense in the 7th and the 8th, and they secured it with a couple dagger singles in the top of the 8th to really get some Geico for that 9th inning. But, where is it on the starter? When are they going to jump on the starter? Where are they going to get those early inning runs? And it's like, well, the offense came eventually. So that's all that kind of shows more character, that you can make it happen later when you need it, rather than, for instance, another ball club. If you look at the Cubs, they've been putting up recently not a lot of runs, but when they have gotten on the board early, they just collapse late. And so the flip side, the Twins have been more so doing the opposite of that, where that success is coming as the night progresses, as the game progresses. And it's hard to be mad about that when you are eventually pulling out the win and rallying. You have those exciting moments because everybody loves that, and that's what builds a team. That's what gets you into those confident swings and kind of momentum swings for maybe a full series, where that opening night you head out east and you face whoever, and all of a sudden it's like you steal that first game, they're knocked on their wallet. They don't know what just happened. They thought they had it locked up and looking at night 2 already. All of a sudden they burned through 3 relievers they didn't think they had to, and now it's like it's a boxing match. You get a couple right jabs and you hit the kidney with the left, and all of a sudden they're stumbling back onto their stool. So this team late in games has been very good. I still want to see a more complete game at times, but they have been they've been ralliers, and I would rather be a rallier than a starter.
And yesterday, I mean, like, the whole sentiment in the clubhouse from everyone, manager to players, was a complete team win. And if for those, I know not a lot of people can watch the games. I can't control that. It does suck. I'm annoyed by it as much as anyone. I'm paying a pretty penny to watch them. Yesterday was like a complete team win. Everyone was getting hits.
Yes.
The starter was great. The bullpen was great. The incredible defensive play from Vasquez to Correa to get a would-be stolen base, which would have put runners at 2nd and 3rd and no out in the top of the 9th. The fact they go bang, bang to get that runner out and then a strikeout, and everything just kind of falls into place. Like, those are team wins, and those are moments, too, that really, I think, give a lot of belief into a locker room. So you bring up an excellent point there. Quick update on Royce Lewis here.
Before we get to that, can I cut you off for a second?
Yes, obviously.
Before we get to that, you mentioned Joe Ryan, and I'm on Twitter quite a bit. I'm on Twitter quite a bit, but I noticed that the Talkin' Baseball fellows, they credited you. They used your photo from a scrum after a game, and Joe Ryan is sitting there, and this guy looks like he's had a shirt that he's had since he was maybe a toddler. It's got holes and it's got cuts, and it can we get this guy a new shirt, or does he do this on purpose? What's going on? Why does he wear a shirt with like 1,000 holes in it?
Yeah. So number one, let me debunk the first rumor, because I saw this. I saw his first comment. Well, it's Fanatics, and Fanatics stinks, and that's why he did that. It actually had nothing to do with Fanatics, and I asked him point blank about that last night. I was like, did that have anything to do with Fanatics? Like, oh no. So, if you go on Twitter, you'll see it. Talkin' Baseball had it too, I think, on their platforms. It's like this shirt, and it's almost like there's cutoffs in it. It looks a lot. I told Ross this. For my 90s wrestling fans, it looks like a shirt Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels would wear, like, with the Rockers. Like, it's got, like, the tassels to a degree at the bottom. They're not complete tasseled out where, like, the ends aren't cut out, but it looks like this weird cut-off shirt, and I was like, what is this? And he's like, yeah, I'm trying something new, and that's what he just told me at the time, but I still snagged a picture, whatever. Well, then I followed up with him last night, and I was like, so what is the story behind this wacky shirt? He was like, so, in classic Joe Ryan fashion, he's like, I'm a big marathon. Like, I love running. I love following people who run marathons. Apparently, there's this guy that he follows that's a big marathon runner that does this. And it's like, Joe doesn't like a lot of, like, compression, so he likes these loose shirts. And this shirt, which is even like a size up on him, like helps him breathe a little bit more when he's pitching, when he's walking around. So he has like fashioned a few of these warm-up shirts into these basically marathon training like shirts. Okay. And that is the story of Edward Scissorhands and Joe Ryan's shirts. Like it's he's one of the most interesting guys I've ever like been around, even though I've only been on this, Twins coverage for the last like 2 or 3 months. But yes, he's an interesting cat, having a hell of a year, and he fashions himself some very fancy shirts. I'm a big fan of it. So that's your story of the Joe Ryan shirt. Hey, by the way, if you want to go watch Joe Ryan pitch, if you want to watch this Minnesota Twins ball club, big homestand also coming up here in June. I think their biggest of the year, at least up to this point. Why don't you go stay at the Element Hotel? It is just steps away here from Target Field. They feature a lot of great amenities. They got free Wi-Fi. They have this amazing rooftop for people that are watching on the YouTube screen. It's a great hotel. Our listeners stayed here when we had our Purple Daily draft party last month. It's an awesome hotel. They got the free snacks. That's always a big one for me when I, stumble home after a night out in the North Loop or from a Twins game. What's the snack situation? You can get 15% off your room rate. I do it every bleeping time. 15% off your room rate at the Element Hotel when you go to skornorth.com/element. skornorth.com/element. My friends at the Element Hotel are well aware that I have butchered that a few times. Regardless, it's a great hotel. So go stay there, and then don't ask for a roommate though. When I say roommate and you go check in and you book that and you put a little comment in there, don't ask for a roommate. If you want to bring your roommate, that's a different story. But there will be no roommates that will be assigned for you at the Element Hotel. skornorth.com/element. A little bit of a Royce Lewis update. So Royce has played in a few games with the St. Paul Saints. They had a doubleheader yesterday in Rochester. By the way, the Saints are in Rochester for like 6 days. If you go to the Saints schedule, they are playing like 6 games. There was a rain out. They are there through the weekend. They've been playing there since Tuesday. They will be there in Rochester, New York through the weekend. So he played DH a couple of games over the weekend, off day Monday, played in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, didn't play in game 2, obviously, in the doubleheader yesterday, and then tonight's game, he is out of the lineup. Nothing to worry about, no setback, all part of the normal plan with Royce Lewis. I will say, and I'm not reporting this, I'm just gleaning and kind of getting through the information that I have learned so far. We thought maybe he could be there with the Twins when they open in Houston this weekend. From what I am gathering, because I believe he'll still play at least maybe a couple more games with the Saints against Rochester, and the 4th game would be tomorrow. I don't think Houston is likely, at least to start for Royce. Now, injuries happened. There was a kind of a scary play with Edward Julian yesterday that resulted the trainer and Rocco to go out there for a little bit. He seems okay, but gathering what I know, and it seems like they've had this planned out for about weeks now with Royce, or at least the last week going into it. This was always a scheduled off day, but I don't believe the Twins will, when they go to Houston, it doesn't appear that Royce Lewis will be there. Personally, if now I'm putting more and more of this stuff together, if the Twins are in Rochester, New York through the weekend, and the Saints are in Rochester, New York through the weekend, and the Twins are in Houston, Texas, they will leave for New York to play the Yankees for a 3-game series starting on Tuesday with an off day built in. Logistics and at-bats and timing and all that stuff together, to me, suggests those puzzle pieces are putting together for Royce Lewis to return when the Twins play the Yankees next week. Now, again, things could change. Maybe he's there in Houston, but from what I have kind of gathered here, that appears to kind of be maybe the plan. I haven't gotten that confirmed by any means, but if he's not going to join them in Houston and the guy's already in the state of New York and the Twins are going to New York and will be landing there, late Sunday evening, I don't think they're going to fly a guy, at least it's not a necessity, all the way across to Houston for no reason on like 1 or 2 days and then bring him all the way with, doesn't make any sense. So that's your Royce Lewis update. Personally, it appears that I don't think Houston is likely, but maybe now you can start circling the New York Yankees series in the Bronx for when Royce Lewis does return to the Twins.
Yeah, I mean, if they're already in Rochester, we already have seen this team talk about how they cut the payroll this past offseason. So for the sake of saving a little money here, these flights nowadays, Dex, they're outlandish. Put them up in a Motel 6 for a couple extra days. Keep them in New York, the state of New York.
I think the Saints are probably staying. I don't know what the Rochester, New York hotel system is like, but I got to imagine there's like an Element hotel equivalent of something down there.
Yeah, put them up in the Element New York. He can forego the roommate and get an excellent room rate. And then when Tuesday rolls around and they're taking on the Yanks, just get them back with the big club. What do you say? I mean, it's about time. Houston, frankly, I get it. That heat they got down there, that dry heat, and I know they're having some rough weather down in Texas right now. So keep them in New York where it's safe and sound. Have them rejoin the big club here on Tuesday the 4th, and all of a sudden, look at that. Royce Lewis back in the lineup for the Twins. He eases back in, and all of a sudden, that 6.5 game lead between them and the top spot Guardians begins to shrink and shrink and shrink.
Yeah, so I would, and maybe, hey, we don't know what that roster move looks like. Like I said, Julian had a scary play, and unfortunately, baseball transactions like this roster ones kind of work themselves out with an injury or with just plain out ineffectiveness. So, if they had to make a roster move right now, I don't know what it would be. You can make a case for pros and cons for the guys on the chopping block of why they shouldn't be optioned or cut, and why they should be sticking around here. So it also gives them a little bit more time to prepare for that move. But yeah, I would envision, and I can't tell if Twins fans will be nervous about that. The fact that he's making his return to a stadium where the Twins just absolutely never win in. That being said, every time he comes back, the dude's got a flair for the dramatic. He's probably going to pop a home run in that Little League park that is Yankee Stadium. That's my subtle jab at that ballpark.
Yeah, if there's a guy that's going to come back and make Yankee Stadium a Twins-friendly ballpark, it's Royce Lewis. I mean, Look at what he did last year. Look what he did in the postseason. He seems like a guy that's going to come back, and it's going to be like that. The announcers are, well, he missed all this time, and so they're probably going to look to ease back. Oh, my God, he just took that 98-mile-per-hour fastball, 450 to right. What a hit. He seems like a guy that's immediately going to come back and I think hit his stride. But the thing is, you want to ease him back. He's too valuable of a guy to lose for more extended time. So as much as I think all of us would like to get him in the lineup here against the Astros and right away against the Yankees, if he comes back and there's a little hesitation, err on the side of caution, maybe an extra day, and then work him back in at his own pace.
Absolutely. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is the SKOR North Twins Show. This is the extra innings edition. My name's Declan Goff. That's AJ Fredrickson. You can expect Ross Brendel. Alex Wested joins occasionally. We have Trevor Plouffe every Tuesday, too, on this podcast feeding YouTube channel. I think Plouffe will actually be with the Twins when they play New York. So that Plouffe will be in New York for the Yankees series, and then I think he's coming to town. Maybe we'll get Plouffe in studio. Maybe we'll meet up with our guy Trevor Plouffe. Make him pick up the bar tab. Make him, buy us some drinks or something. I don't know. But hit the like button and subscribe button. This is SKOR North Extra Innings. Appreciate everyone watching and listening. We'll be back at you tomorrow.